Hey, can you cover rent again this month? Sorry, I promise I'll pay you back. I just can't say no. I've already covered the last 2 months. I'm stuck. If I say no, everything's going to blow up.
Hey, Steve, you look like you're really feeling trapped right now. What's going on?
I'm just frustrated. I should say no, but I know if I do, my roommate will get mad and things will get super awkward. They always ask, and I always end up saying yes. There's no way out of this.
That sounds really overwhelming. It sounds like you're feeling caught between wanting to say no, but being afraid of how your roommate will react. Would it be okay if we looked at this together and maybe challenge some of the thoughts that might be making it harder to decide?
Sure, I guess.
Okay, first, let's take a closer look at something you just said. I heard you say, I can't say no, and everything's going to blow up. Do you notice any black and white or all or nothing thinking in that statement?
I guess I'm acting like it's either I say yes or everything falls apart.
Exactly. That's black and white thinking. When we think there are only two extremes, either you say yes or disaster happens. But what if there's room for a more balanced middle ground? Is it possible your roommate might feel disappointed, but things won't necessarily blow up?
I guess. I mean, they might be annoyed, but I don't think they'd end the friendship over it. Maybe I'm blowing it out of proportion.
It's understandable. Our emotions can make everything feel much bigger. Now, what about when you said, I should say no? That's what we call a should statement. How do you feel when you use the word should here?
I feel guilty. It's like I know I'm being taken advantage of, so I should stand up for myself. But when I don't, I feel like I'm failing.
I hear you. Shoulds can add pressure and guilt because they set us up with these rigid expectations. Instead of I should, what if we tried I'd like to say no because it would honor my boundaries? How does that feel?
It sounds less harsh. Like I have a choice, and I'm not just messing up by not doing the right thing.
Exactly. You do have a choice, and it's not about perfection. It's about what's best for you in this moment. Now, let's talk about something else you mentioned. I heard you say, they always ask, and I always say yes. That sounds like an overgeneralization. Is that true all the time?
Well, not always. I've said no before, but I still feel like it's most of the time. It's just exhausting.
That makes sense. Overgeneralizations like always and never can make the problem feel much bigger than it is. It's okay to acknowledge that saying yes too often is a problem, but there's room for flexibility. You have said no before, so you know you can do it again.
Yeah, I guess I have done it before. But what if this time is different? What if they stop trusting me?
That sounds like an assumption. You're assuming that saying no this time will lead to a loss of trust. But do you have evidence that your roommate would stop trusting you because you're setting a boundary?
No, I guess not. They've been fine with me setting other boundaries before, like when I said I couldn't clean up their mess in the kitchen.
Exactly. Sometimes we get stuck in these assumptions, thinking the worst will happen. But if we look at the evidence, it sounds like your roommate is capable of handling boundaries.
Okay, so I'm seeing that I was thinking too much in extremes and making assumptions. But I still feel like saying no is going to mess things up.
Let's try working through this, keeping those factors in mind. Do you feel like emotions might be getting in the way of using your skills?
Definitely. I feel guilty and worried.
That's understandable. Emotions can cloud our judgment. But now that you've identified them, you can still choose to act in a way that respects both your feelings and your boundaries. Let's also think about your self-respect. Will saying yes again affect how you feel about yourself in the long run?
Yeah, I'd feel like I'm letting myself down again.
Exactly. That's a big factor. Also, consider whether short-term discomfort, like potential awkwardness, is worth sacrificing your long-term goal of being more assertive and maintaining your financial boundaries.
I don't want to keep sacrificing my long-term goals just to avoid some awkwardness now.
Right. You can handle short-term discomfort, and the long-term benefits of setting this boundary are worth it. Now, what about timing? Is now a good time to say no, or do you need a better moment?
Honestly, I'd feel more comfortable doing this at home, where I can focus. Maybe I could draft a response and send it later tonight.
That's a great idea. You're thinking ahead and planning the right environment to help you stick to your values. You're already troubleshooting effectively, Steve.
Okay, I think I'm ready to try this. Maybe something like, I understand things are tight. I've already covered rent for 2 months, and I can't do it again this time. Let's figure out another solution together.
That's perfect. Assertive, clear, and compassionate. You're acknowledging their situation while also protecting your boundaries. Remember, you don't need to make assumptions or fall into extremes. You're more capable than you think, and you've done this before.
Thanks, DBT Fairy. I feel like I've been making things harder by thinking in extremes and assuming the worst. This helps a lot.
You've done a fantastic job challenging those thoughts, Steve. Keep practicing, and remember, balance and flexibility are key. You've got this.